jetzt für euch die Möglichkeit, mit Yaya zu sprechen. Wir freuen uns unheimlich, dass sie hier ist, extra für euch aus Amerika angereist. Sie wird euch ein bisschen was über ihre Arbeit erzählen, was sie so macht den ganzen Tag, und ihr werdet auch die Möglichkeit bekommen, ihr Fragen zu stellen. Deswegen bitte einen ganz, ganz großen ComicCon Germany Welcome einmal für Yaya.
Hallo, hallo. Dankeschön. Hallo alle. Also, es ist so schön hier zu sein in Deutschland. Und für mich ist es halt wie so Homecoming, weil ich in Deutschland aufgewachsen bin. Aber ich lebe schon seit fast 20 Jahren oder so in Amerika. Und ich habe auch Cosplay in Amerika angefangen. Und deswegen, ich habe halt nicht so viele Gelegenheiten, nach Deutschland zu kommen und mit deutschen Cosplayers und Fans zu reden und irgendwie diese Szene hier auch zu beobachten. Deswegen machen wir jetzt mal ganz schnell diese Präsentation und dann werde ich alle Fragen annehmen, was ihr habt. Also nicht nur wegen mir, aber auch, wenn ihr Fragen habt für eure Projekte, für irgendwas in euer Cosplay-Leben, bitte Fragen stellen. Und dann sage ich nochmal, dass, weil ich diese Präsentation auf Englisch geschrieben habe, mache ich das auf Englisch. Ist das okay? Can we switch to English? It's okay. Everybody understands English? All right, good. Thanks. Phew. It's a little easier for me. All right. So, first of all, got to show you guys that it really had to start somewhere. I know some of you have known me for a really long time, but I started cosplaying back in the summer of 1999, and that costume is one of my worst. So I got to show you because it's a learning curve. So I did not know how to sew before I started cosplaying. I had no idea how to style wigs. In fact, I think I just like glued some hair onto this onesie that I made. So, but it's been a really long time. 17 years later, I've made over 350 costumes. And, oh wait, this is actually, first of all, baby Yaya. So this was how I got my start in cosplay, was going to conventions, having fun with my friends, and entering costume contests. Because in the early 2000s, you didn't have digital cameras, you didn't have social media, there was no way for you to, express yourself as a cosplayer unless you competed and unless you went on stage and acted out as the character. So those were some of my very first performances. They were all very dramatic. I don't know why, it was all like to J-rock music or something. But, but it was so much fun, and it really like pushed me to be more competitive with myself. And that's what I think is so great about cosplay, is that it's all about you getting better with your passions. So if I hadn't competed at the beginning, I think maybe I wouldn't have been so into cosplay. Okay, so now, 17 years later, I'm still cosplaying. I've made about 350 costumes. I don't really keep too much of a count. Storing them is a lot of fun. Yeah, but I sort of try to keep all of them and archive them because it's all sentimental value to me. So let me show you guys now how I stored my costume for a while. So this is one of my sewing rooms. This is sort of my little world. I live in a pretty old house with very small rooms, so I actually need 2 sewing rooms to be able to store everything. So this is one of the rooms that houses a lot of the materials and my costumes. And as you can see, it started to kind of overflow. And since then, I've had to move them to a storage unit. So yes, I pay for a storage unit every month to house my costumes. So this is the other room. This is the second room. This is kind of, as you can see, it's kind of crammed space. Behind me are all the different boxes where my fabrics are, materials are. And the one good thing is, because it's so crammed, I can just kind of turn around without having to get up to get everything that I need. So sewing is, of course, a huge part of my cosplaying. I love sewing, and so that's me sewing with my friend Hannah, and I currently use Bernina machines, and they're amazing, and they help me make my costumes faster. So this is sort of what it looks like. This is how I do my thing every day. And so now, what else do I do besides making costumes? So what does it mean to be a professional cosplayer? For me, a lot of it is going to conventions and being a judge for costume contests. Conventions will invite me to help them out with a contest, just like I did yesterday with moderating the costume contest. And I also get to do the signing of autographs thing, which that's kind of new in cosplay. It just started developing, I think, in Europe. In America, it's a little more developed now. But that's, one part of my life. But really, what got me to continue with conventions and sort of build this name recognition or this brand is that I have a line of cosplay accessories. These are products that I design, that I have a small team of people that help me make them. You can see some of them at my booth. And so it's all about not just relying on one aspect for your income. So it's like my store is a big part of my income, and it is something that is very, very innovative and very fulfilling to me. And it's sort of a way for people to be able to purchase something that I designed, and it's a way for me to connect with them. And of course, at conventions, usually this is like our real big booth setup when we actually have the resources and time to set everything up. And we go to about 20 conventions a year as vendors, and I also go to conventions as a guest. So really, I do a lot of traveling, and all of the judging and the signing of autographs and such, they all tie in together. So of course, some of you may know me from a couple TV shows that I've been on. Heroes of Cosplay from Sci-Fi and King of the Nerds on TBS. Those are shows that I never thought could be possible. I never thought that cosplay could go mainstream enough for there actually to be TV shows made about it. So it's really a testament to how the mainstream audience has embraced cosplay, and for me it's been a real honor to be a part of it, to hopefully represent cosplay in the right way, to show that it's more than just a form of modeling or a fetish or a hobby, that it's a true art form. Another really weird thing that I did was I got made into a comic book. This comic book publisher in America approached me a few years ago and wanted to create a superhero comic, and so that was really fun to do. For me as a cosplayer, it was kind of a dream come true to, cosplay superheroes for years for fun, and then finally becoming a superhero. So I actually got to design my costume, I got to choose my superpower, so it's pretty cool. These days, I focus a lot of my time in working with companies to give back to the community, as in, creating new materials, new tools for the cosplay community. And that's, I think, another way to show that now global companies are starting to pay attention to cosplay. They're realizing that cosplay is a market. So I've been designing patterns for McCall Patterns for over 2 years now, and we've come out with over 20 patterns. They're starting now to be also available here in Germany. So Alpha Tex has them, My Costumes has them, and it's just really nice to have a tool, a blueprint, so to speak, that will make your crafting process a little easier and faster. All right. And another thing that I'm really proud of is I am now designing fabrics for largest chain of fabric stores in America. Joann Fabrics has over 800 or 900 stores nationwide, and they have released, a year and a half ago, they released the first line of fabrics that are focused on cosplay, and that is my line. So it's a project that I've been working very hard on. It's something that still requires a lot of time. I'm still going on Skype calls and answering emails and such while I'm here, like today, because it's something that just requires a lot of attention. The volume is really high, and to actually convince a company like Joann Fabrics to even carry very weird and outlandish materials, that took about a year. But I'm really proud. This is actually the Joann's that's the closest to my house. That's the one that I've been shopping at myself for over 10 years. Even as a fan, before I ever did cosplay professionally, that was the store that I shopped at. So it was really cool to see my fabrics in there, seeing people pick them up, get them cut out, buying them and making things with them. And it's just something that I'm really proud of. And yes, hopefully we'll be able to bring the fabrics to Germany. So yeah, if you have a local fabric store, tell them about it. That's the only way that we're going to get the fabrics here, is if fabric stores are interested in wholesaling and carrying them. So sort of in line with, getting into the whole sewing industry, I am now an ambassador for Bernina sewing machines, and this is just unbelievable, the experience I've had with them. The best being that I've learned so much about how to use their machines and how it's actually helped me make costumes faster. It's like just really amazing to up my own knowledge, but then also be able to advocate for a company that I really truly believe in. So you'll see more about my collaboration with Bernina very soon. So all of these things, I know it's just like, I'm just here talking about all the things I've done, but really I just want to reiterate that none of it would be possible if I wasn't a craftsman. If the craftsmanship aspect of cosplay did not grab me the way that it did over 15 years ago. So no matter the things that I've accomplished or whatever it is that I will accomplish in the future, my foundation in this work, this career, is always going to be making costumes. And that is one thing that I'm really happy with, that just really hasn't changed. Like, all of these years later, it's still all about making costumes for me. Granted, it's a little difficult to find time to make costumes these days, but it's very important to me, and I want to keep innovating. I want to keep learning new techniques and, doing things that I've never done before. So with that being said, this is kind of who I am and what I do. And so yeah, I think I'm just going to open up the panel up to questions now. Wenn ihr Fragen habt, jetzt ist die beste Zeit.
Wenn ihr Fragen habt, perfekt, da haben wir schon jemanden. Moment.
Hey, Yaya, two questions. You obviously didn't study cosplaying, or you didn't learn that. So I have two questions. How did you start? What did you do when you were young? What did you learn? Because I think it's a very good example for a cool career. Maybe you did something completely else and now you're that cosplay star. And the second question is, have you ever been approached by the movie world for costume design or even for a role? Thanks.
All right, great questions. I started off with a $40 used sewing machine that I bought from a friend, and someone showed me how to sew a straight stitch and a zigzag stitch, and that's it, and how to read a pattern. And that's it. I mean, and really, I'm self-taught, but that's more out of necessity because I could not afford to go to school for fashion design. It was just not in the cards for me. I immigrated to the United States, and as a first-generation immigrant, it is not easy. I had no support. I had to make a living very early on to be able to survive. So never went to college or anything, but that may have been something I used to be embarrassed about, but now I'm actually really proud of that fact because I've really made, I made a living for myself. I'm an entrepreneur, and it's not always about what you learn in school. So sewing has been just straight up experimenting, reading sewing books like before YouTube and such, doing crafting sessions with friends and just, learning little things here and there, making a shit ton of mistakes, really a lot of mistakes, just having costumes fall apart on me. But it's just persistence. And that's things like, for me, it took many years to, like over 10 years before I was able to turn this into a living. For a lot of people, because of the resources available now in cosplay, you can get into cosplay with the intention of doing this professionally. You can hone your skills in one area and then start teaching people, start writing books, starting, whatever. It's like, it's a little bit different now. But for me, it was a very long, slow journey, and I think I am very grateful for that. I think I'm very lucky that it happened that way for me, because I really appreciate this community because I grew up in it. So it's like I always am going to be very thankful to the cosplay community, because without it, I wouldn't have anything. So I think that sort of really grounds me. And that's also the reason why I didn't go into Hollywood or movie costuming, because I actually I had that chance. I had the intention of moving out to Los Angeles, and I had the connections, and I did design for a couple of pilots and such, and it's an area that I could have very well developed into, but I realized that if I was designing for movies or TV, it would it would take a really long time before I could have creative freedom, and you will always be fulfilling somebody else's vision. So for me, having my own business and, innovating on my own, it gives me complete freedom, and it's actually a more lucrative and, better, it's a better life for me. So, but I have the utmost respect for the movie industry. I've met some costume designers, I've judged with them, and at San Diego ComicCon, I'm actually going to introduce my fabrics to the Costumers Guild in America. So I'll have a chance to speak to the top designers and share with them what the cosplay community is like, how we are innovating, how the fans are, working with their designs. And I think it's just more about bringing cosplay more together with, the movie industry maybe. So we'll see how that goes. I'm really excited.
Another question, after 20 years, do you think Germany has changed with the cosplay?
Yes. Okay, so when I lived in Germany, before I moved, I was such a freak in school. Like, my classmates just did not understand anything that I was doing. They were just like, why are you drawing these Barbie figures? I'm like drawing manga characters in class and such. And so I was very much so like super weird otaku chick. And now I come back and I'm just like, oh my God, this is now like an industry. There's not only anime on TV and manga, in bookstores, but this like, like gaming companies are really taking note of cosplay. Gamescom is bigger than ever, and I'm shocked at the attendance here, ComicCon Germany, just how many different genres are represented. I think it's really wonderful. And I also see that the media is starting to understand a little bit about cosplay. And it sort of feels to me like how the United States was maybe 10 years ago. I think like 10 years ago in the United States, that's maybe how, or maybe 6-7 years ago in the United States, kind of how the scene is like here in Germany. But I think it's now developing a lot faster than it did in the United States because of social media and just because of the, you know, the popularity of pop culture and comic book movies. And I mean, the video game industry is a $90 billion industry. You know, Hollywood is a $39 billion industry. And it's like all of those things are tied in with you know, how cosplay is developing, because we are all fans, we're consumers, and we, if anything, we provide free advertising for all of these companies. You know, we bust our asses to dress up as their characters to advertise for them, you know, and I think a lot of them, they realize that. So it's good.
Wenn eine Frage ist, gerne einmal kurz die Hand heben. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
You keep talking about United States versus what you see now. Is it like the approach in the United States is much different to the approach you see, I guess, in Europe, because you probably have seen many countries in Europe. So do they approach cosplay like differently? Like, I don't know what I'm asking, but you know.
Right,
maybe.
right. How do they approach cosplay in the United States versus Europe? Well, one thing about the United States is that there's a lot more communication. The media has really grabbed onto cosplay. All of the big media outlets, they will send photographers to create galleries at conventions. They literally just go and take pictures of cosplayers and create like the best cosplays of New York ComicCon or San Diego ComicCon. And so it's a lot. There are a lot of viral threads that are now being posted about cosplay. And Disney is huge. Like just like the Disney costuming community is just like so big. Like people will do like a Disney makeup and that goes viral. So I think from that standpoint, it's very easy for cosplayers to access the public. You know, then also with things like the TV shows that, you know, give million viewers the chance to really see what this community is, that also really changed the sort of, it really amplified the cosplay, you know, the views on cosplay. So now it's very popular. It's incredibly popular. It's something that a lot of families do. I think that's really great that now parents are supporting their kids versus, you know, several years ago they may have forbidden their kid to make a costume because they thought there was hentai or something, you know, like it's just, it had to develop to the point where they had to understand the psychology behind it, where it's like, oh, this is something that's fun. This is like Halloween, but better, because you can actually put more effort into it. And yes, the Halloween culture, I think, definitely has a lot to do with how cosplay is received in America. You know, it's like they're very, like at least once a year, they love to dress up. Everybody knows that you can dress up, so this is an extension of it. But at the same time, because cosplay is so popular in the United States, of course, there are also negative aspects. There's a lot more potential harassment at conventions. You know, cosplay is not consent, was sort of born out of necessity in the United States because, you know, like girls were just really getting harassed without mercy. So I think, and then now you have a lot of people coming into cosplay from other areas. You have porn stars cosplaying. You have websites that are dedicated to, you know, cosplay, like softcore porn cosplay. I mean, it's like there's like anything that becomes really popular, it's all a part of it. And the thing is, like, I always feel like everything should have its place. I just hope that people don't get discouraged if they see an aspect of cosplay that they don't like, that they don't get discouraged of finding more about it. Because you can really find your community and you can cosplay the way that you want to, you know, and not really succumb to peer pressure. You know, Facebook likes is another issue in the United States, where conventions really only look at Facebook likes to determine who they want to bring to their events as guests, and you know, who gets whatever corporate gig is mainly based on Facebook likes. So those are just kind of issues that just happen because cosplay is so popular. But I still think that it's still been very positive, and the exchange of information, I think, has been the most amazing part, is that, you know, really people are very freely sharing their progress, sharing all kinds of information, teaching each other, and that's pretty much, that's really priceless. So. Any other questions?
I saw a hand, I'm running.
Hi there. I
Hi.
wanted to ask about your process of making or designing patterns for McCall. I really wanted to know if you just designed them or if you were involved in the pattern drafting. And I've desperately been wanting to pick the brain of anybody who's worked with the Big Four. How do they come up with their body blocks? Why do they put so much ease in them? Do you know?
Okay, so McCall's has a whole department of pattern makers that have been sewing longer than I've been alive. So I do not dare to draft for them. Like, that is something, like, millions are made of these patterns. Do not let me draft them. You know, like, these are professionals. They know how to grade patterns, size them, everything, and the process is pretty complicated because they have to fit all the pattern pieces in, you know, on enough paper that can fit inside the envelope. So sometimes I will say, I want to do this with this many sleeve options, and they'd be like, no, it doesn't fit into the package, you know? So it's like, I do a lot of sketches, I collect a lot of reference, I do a lot of descriptions, I basically make a lot of presentations on what kind of patterns I think would be needed, why they would be needed, what the patterns look like, what kind of seams, what kind of collar options, and I submit all of that, and then they choose what they like, and then they create a croquis. So the technical drawing of the front, back, and send it to me for approval. And a lot of times I'll go and I'll draw on top of it and say, no, the seam should be like this. This is more flattering. Can we do this instead? And then once we finalize the design and we're all happy with the exact croquis, then they draft the pattern and they send me a mock-up. And then I try it on and I make changes on it if need be. Like the bodysuit went through a couple of changes, and when I have time, not always, when I have time, I will take their prototype pattern and I will make the garment to see how it actually works. But with my schedule, I can't do that with everything. So it's definitely a lot of back and forth, but I'm very involved in the process, as in even choosing the fabrics, you know, like what kind of fabric, what kind of buttons, what kind of trims, so that we can ensure that the final piece that gets photographed is the best representation for the patterns. And of course, I do a lot of the photo shoots for the envelopes so that I can really, you know, I can really realize my vision for it, and they trust me to do that. So it's been a really rewarding process. It's really nice to work for a company that is so dedicated and so efficient. And there are times where they're just like, okay, we want more patterns. What else do you got? And I'm like, give me a few days. Let me, like, they're just so like, okay, all right, what else? I'm like, okay. Let me get in the zone a little bit. So I have to keep up with them sometimes. So in that regard, it's really great. But I think the reason why sometimes the patterns don't always fit is because they've been designing for decades with fashion garments in mind, and fashion garments fit differently than costumes. Costumes are all painted on. Everything is tight, fitted, perfectly silhouetted, with fashion, there has to be a little more ease. People have to be able to move. They're designed for everyday wear. It's more about draping. And so that's why I think for a lot of costume, like the patterns that we then use for costumes, we have a little harder time with altering them. And that's why I'm like, mock-ups, make all the mock-ups, you know, because like sometimes you have to make things a size smaller at the waist, but then a size bigger at the top. And you can only do that when you make a mock-up, so.
Hi. My question is, your cosplays usually incorporate both crafting and sewing, although I think the sewing part is much more represented. But what do you like to do more? Do you like crafting with Warbler more, or do you like sewing more, drafting patterns, or do you like designing your costumes? What is the part you like best?
Sewing, for sure, for sure. I like sewing, I'll tell you why. Because it is clean, it is no mess, no stress. You just put together the puzzle, and as long as you know, get your pattern right, once you're done sewing it, it's done. I really like that. With armors, I get really frustrated because I will spend a ton of time making it, and I'm finally like, okay, it's done. And then I'm like, now I have to prime it. Now I have to paint it. And I have to seal it. And I have to like pray that the humidity in Georgia is not going to kill my paint or mess it up or somehow. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like more nerve-wracking. And I'm really clumsy. I tend to always drop the pieces that I'm painting at least once. Every single piece I've ever painted, I've dropped at least once, I swear. So with sewing, it's just really nice. You know, I kind of like that aspect. But of course, I like to push myself. It gets boring just to do the same thing, especially for someone like me who's been making costumes for so long. It's like if you just make the same thing, you're going to lose your passion for it. So I'm all about trying some new things, you know, like just recently doing the Camilla from Fire Emblem. I'm like, I'm going to try to sew armor just to see if it works. And it's just like, what else can I do? It's really, that's really fun for me. And so the next thing the next costume I'm making is probably going to involve a lot of EVA foam armor, which I have not done that much of, where like the whole suit is EVA foam armor. I've done that with Warbler. So, you know, something new, something different. So, but yeah, like sewing is my jam.
Yeah, hi. The cosplay community in Germany is getting bigger and bigger, and the jealousy and hatred between cosplayer is even getting bigger. And how do you think we can get rid of this, or how can we fit this thinking of body shaming, or I don't know how I say it.
Auf Deutsch auch.
Diese Perfektion, dieses dieses bewusste oder maximale Perfektsein. Wie können wir das abstellen, oder wie können wir es verhindern, dass das auch zum Teil wirklich psychische Ausmaße annimmt, dieser Hass oder diese Eifersucht zwischen den Cosplayern?
Ja, okay, ich verstehe. Ja, okay. To answer in English, because I'll do this better in English, I promise. It is natural. Like, the first thing is to understand why it happens, and that it is simply the nature of the game. What we're doing is we are putting ourselves out there for everyone to judge on multiple levels. So it's not just our face and our body, it's also our crafting skills And then it's also how we relate to the characters that we cosplay. I think that was something I really had to learn, and once I understood that, it really opened my world up a lot more. What I mean by that is that every person that looks at you dressed as, I always do Wonder Woman as an example, because she's such an iconic character. So you're dressed as Wonder Woman, but you may not look exactly like Wonder Woman. I cosplay Wonder Woman. I'm Asian. I'm not an Amazon. I'm not super tall. I'm not super athletic looking. And then, of course, when people look at you and you don't look like their vision of the character, they will automatically judge you, because for them, it's personal. They grew up with Wonder Woman, they love Wonder Woman, they know exactly what she looks like in their minds. So if you don't fit that vision, very often it's easy for them to forget that you're a fan, that you're a human being. They'll just say, well, but you don't really look like Wonder Woman, or you're African American, you know, maybe you should have cosplayed Artemis instead of Wonder Woman, you know. So that stuff happens a lot, and you just have to understand that it has nothing to do with you. So just remove yourself from that criticism completely. If you hold on to the reason you cosplay for yourself, it won't affect you too much what other people say. So it's really like you're a fan, you have every right to cosplay whatever character you want. Doesn't matter what you look like, it's a way for you to express that you're a fan. And I think for people to understand that, it just means that you need to communicate with them more. And that's something I'm still working on, and I recommend for all cosplayers to be very open when they talk about their costumes. So don't hold anything back. Don't hold back how you made your costume. Tell people the reason you made that costume. Explain why you love the character. Show progress. Make videos about, you know, you making the costume. Share techniques that you've learned. Show people that you're a person, that you're doing this for the love of the character and for the love of the craftsmanship. And I think that the more people do that, the more we can counter jealousies or misunderstandings or judgment. And I think that with Germany, what I've noticed is that the perfectionism is there, the need for perfectionism. A lot of cosplayers have told me that they feel intimidated to get into cosplay more because they don't feel like they live up to that image. And I've also seen it in other countries such as Japan or Russia, where culturally there is a lot of pride in perfectionism, in, you know, being as accurate as possible and as you know, the best that you can be. In China too, it's all about like, you need to be the best, and that's a cultural thing. And I think the only way to counter is to speak out against it and to share that all the aspects, share all the aspects of why you cosplay. So don't be afraid to show yourself in less than perfect light, because that's how you lead by example. If you only show yourself when you look perfect, when your costume is perfect, or, you know, your selfie is perfect, then you only perpetuate that stereotype. Show that you're a real person, that, you know, you can run around in your sweats, that you can, you know, maybe make a mistake, maybe show something that you've done that is a mistake, like, hey, I totally screwed up this piece of armor, this is what I did wrong, but I learned from it, and now you know, and now you don't have to make the same mistake. So be really honest and forthcoming with sharing information, and just stay humble, and, you know, be kind to other cosplayers, encourage those that are new, that are just coming into it. You know, we can only do that by setting this example. So, yeah. Okay, I think we have time for one more question.
Ich wollte zu dem Thema noch anhängen und sagen, diese Sache mit den Hassen, dieses Ideale. Ich frage mich, weshalb Leute überhaupt sich da gegenseitig runtermachen. Eigentlich gibt es keine 100%ige Perfektigkeit, muss ich sagen. Ja.
Genau.
Ja, und ich habe teilweise auch selber Erfahrungen, wirklich unschöne Erfahrungen sammeln müssen. Von Freunden, die teilweise so runtergemacht wurden, dass sie sich sogar vom Zug schmeißen wollten. Ja, ich muss es aber das muss man echt mal erfahren haben, wie weit es sowas gehen kann. Ich bin nämlich als ausgebildeter Ersthelfer auch tätig. Hatte so oft auch Cosplay-Freunde gehabt, die teilweise so runtergemobbt worden sind wegen ihrer Figur oder sowas, dass sie sagen, ja, Charakter passt nicht, keine Ahnung was, bla bla. Und ich habe ehrlich gesagt, das alles da mitzuverantworten. Und muss ehrlich sagen, dass es wirklich dauernd meine Zeit opfer, mich um die zu kümmern.
Also, ich denke, du sollst einfach machen, was dir Spaß macht. Das ist am wichtigsten. Und halt diese Kritik nicht zu Herz nehmen, weil es nicht um dich geht. Wenn sie jemandes Figurs kritisieren, das geht nicht um die Leute, es geht um was diese Criticers denken. Also ich würde mir keine Sorgen damit machen. Also man muss schon weitermachen ich muss auf Englisch, sorry. So really, you have to weigh the pros and cons and just know that, is it worth it? Do you love this enough to do it despite all of the negativity? Because negativity is going to exist no matter what. So if you have fun with it, do it. If it gets to a point where you need a break, take a break. And really find a support system, find people that can support each other, that, all feel the same way about cosplay, that, really just surround yourself with like-minded people and screw everybody else. Don't think about it. So, all right, let's take one more question. Letzte Frage und dann müssen wir weg, glaube ich. Dann ist der Evil Ted dran.
Last question. So you've been doing this for 15 years. Is there any time you've thought about just giving up? Like you are tired, you are not getting what you want, just
Yes. Yes, I have considered giving up, of course. And the last time I wanted to give up cosplay completely was actually February 2016 when my fabrics were released in Joann's, because it was the first time this had happened and there was such an uproar. There were so many people that were jealous of the fact that I got this deal, that there were rumors being spread about the fabrics being chemically poisonous. And it was something that I really had a hard time with, because I'd worked so hard on this fabric line, and it was really done out of just that desire to make more materials available for the community. It was something that I was so passionate about that it just absolutely killed me to have the entire American internet being overrun with these rumors and discussions and criticism about the fabrics. And so while I am over criticism about me, people can say whatever the hell they want about me, I don't give a shit, I really could care less. But when they said something about the fabrics that was so important to me, that was my baby, it discouraged me so much that I really was considering for a day to quit cosplay and move to Africa and, work on a conservatory and help, wild animals. I was like, I want to go and rescue baby lions. That's what I want to do. I'm going to do that. And so I may still do that one day. I'm like, it's good to retire, doing that. But I took a day off. I just shut off the internet. I did not respond despite so many people demanding for me to respond. What do you have to say? What do you have to say about the fabrics? You need to explain. You need to set these records straight. Blah. So I just turned everything off and just kind of laid around and was really sad. And then people started to defend me. People that they called the stores to verify if, this person that started the rumors could actually have bought the fabric, and actually they couldn't have bought the fabrics because they hadn't been released on that day yet. And, the story just didn't make sense. And, it's like they basically totally, busted that rumor without me doing anything. And so with time, and it took months, but finally the fabrics became accepted, and then people started using them, and now half of my tags, anytime that people tag me Yaya Han on social media, half of them are people using either the patterns or the fabrics. And that makes me so happy. And I'm just like, you know what? I've learned that time heals all wounds. Like, with time, everything will be better, and any sort of scandal or drama, it will go away with time. And that was a great lesson, and now I don't think that I will quit cosplay anytime soon. It's still something that I absolutely love to do, but yeah, you wanted to know, so there's my story. All right, so I think it's time. Okay?
Yaya Han, everybody.
Thank you so much. Vielen
What an
Dank.
inspirational cosplayer, an amazing woman. Thank you for being here.